Hi, it's Kim again, and this is part 2. So if you haven't seen part 1, go back and check it out now. In part 2, we want to share with you a sneak preview of some of our ideas on how bullies and geeks alike can improve life for themselves. Let's go back to our diagram where we left off in part 1. Okay, recapping briefly. From a position of opposites, we have now put these two on the same plane of social connection and disconnection. So now, what kind of things are going to move each further to each extreme? As narcissism in itself is a disorder where a person hides from their true self, they have very little introspection. That space is occupied with fantasy, and so most of this influence will come from external forces. Towards disconnection, we will add no limits and unrealistic expectations. The Asperger's person, on the other hand, is highly internalized in their thinking and hence capable of introspection and hence able to work on some of these things themselves, for better or for worse. For worse, we'll start with no goals and little emotional control, or in other words, emotional reactivity. Okay, and so now for the positive, because being connected not only is good for those around us, but it's satisfying and feels good too. On the right, the narcissist will benefit from limits and realistic expectations on them and challenges. For example, if your son is a talented football player but still struggles with reading, it will be unrealistic for you to expect him capable of tackling college, and some limits and challenges might need to be put into action with remedial reading in summer school. In the case of the Asperger's teenager, they themselves would do well to set themselves some goals and embark on some emotional intelligence training. The so-called mental health experts hold little hope for people with either of these conditions, and I'm not saying that this is easy. But feeling socially isolated or lonely is too heavy a burden to bear as a life sentence. So, if you'd like to improve your life in either of these areas, please check out my 6 ebooks. And don't worry if you're not a geek, because they've got pictures.